Okay, let's now welcome on board then Kavitha Rao, Country Commercial Manager at IKEA India. Lots to talk about with her, of course, be it sourcing toys from India, the tie-ups with players, growth opportunity in the children's space in particular, and overall expansion strategy as well. Kavitha, great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining in, really. Just wanted to understand, Kavitha, firstly, because IKEA is set to increase sourcing of toys from India, for instance. Currently, you're sourcing only soft toys. What categories of toys, then, are you looking to target going forward?
Sure, that's a very good question. So maybe we can get started, as you said, with the topic of soft toys. Again, we are sourcing soft toys from India because this is an area of strength for India in the global market, coming on the backdrop of the strength in textiles. But over time, we are also looking at what other possibilities exist in toys and in the larger context already also in the children's IKEA range. So, for example, as IKEA, we don't just look at toys, we also look at furniture, we also look at accessories for children. And this is an area that we are exploring apart from toys as well. Within toys, we are looking at, could we do something in the space of wooden toys? Are there limited collections that we can take to the market, similar to what we have done with textiles in the past, where we are particularly engaged with social entrepreneurs and so on? So these are a few opportunities that we are trying to explore. And then, of course, on the backdrop of the India Toy Fair, we've also had the opportunity to collect with multiple suppliers in the space to also explore options.
Sure. Kavitha, also wanted to understand as to what are the current FDI policy rules for a single brand retailer for local outsourcing?
Sure. So when we came into the India market, we were one of, I think, the first single brand retailers coming in through the foreign direct investment route. And then one of the requirements at that point in time was to reach a local sourcing share of about 30%. Over time, there have been some changes to this regulation, which also takes into account the total exports that a company might be doing in this space. So for us as IKEA in the retail space, we would definitely like to meet this benchmark. We also see that there is a possibility for us to go beyond this benchmark of 30% and do much more in the Indian ecosystem. If you look at it today, the biggest challenge for us comes from some of the areas such as solid wood and board-based material, where maybe today the ecosystem does not exist for us to be able to source locally. And this is coming on the backdrop of a couple of areas. For example, one is being able to find sustainable sources of wood that can be certified. The second example is one related to board manufacturing itself and the ability to procure board which has low emission levels in compliant with global standards. But then we've also seen some big successes in some of the other areas. So for example, textiles, as IKEA, we've had a presence in the India market for many, many years, close to 35 years. And textiles has been one of the areas where we've seen significant success. Since the time we have established the retail presence in the market, we have also made significant strides in two areas. One is related to metal and plastic-based products. The second is related to comfort, which is basically sofas and the mattresses range. So we definitely see that over time, there is a possibility for us to do considerable or significant local sourcing from the India market.
Kavitha, morning. So tell us how much you're going to source initially from India and how much will the sourcing be scaled up to over the next 3 to 5 years? Can you give us some color on the players as well that you're looking at to tie up with? Are you in talks with anyone so far?
It's too early to predict some numbers at this stage. As I said, during the past few days, as part of the Toys Fair, we've actually had the opportunity to connect with a few suppliers. It is also interesting that as IKEA has had a presence in the Toys Fair, we've also seen some suppliers directly reach out to us as part of the fair itself. So at this point in time, we are in the early stages of discussion. Given a chance, as I said, we would like to achieve the same percentage of 30% or above in the toy sector as well. And we definitely think there is a possibility to do that, particularly now with the government and the ecosystem that is being created in terms of both the quality standards as well as giving multiple suppliers the opportunity to scale in this space. I think there is a lot of potential in terms of what we can do with regard to toys.
So, where is it that you're sensing a good growth opportunity within the toy space? Would it be the wooden toys, soft toys? Where is there the real growth in India?
Yeah, I think it's too early again to name suppliers at this stage. As I said, at least 4 or 5 key suppliers, large-scale suppliers with manufacturing capabilities and the ability to scale up have actually reached out to us, which is very positive. As I said, it is still early stages for us to really determine what specific areas, but I definitely think we can do a lot more in the soft toy space. We can also do a lot more in the wooden toy space, of course, subject to the right set of certifications that are needed, particularly for wooden toys. And then maybe there is some possibilities in the plastic space as well that we should be looking at. And as I said, in the larger context of children's IKEA, maybe there are many more opportunities when it comes to the furniture range as well.
How much of the locally sourced products will be exported to other countries by IKEA?
So at this stage, as I said, this is the first step. So we would like to look at the India market and source locally for the India market. But then there is always the possibility to scale up to the needs of the global IKEA markets as well. And this is exactly the journey that we have taken in the context of textiles. If you see, the big chunk of the textiles locally sourced share also comes on the backdrop of the fact that we are servicing many IKEA markets across the world. And several of our suppliers in India are global suppliers of IKEA. So we see that over time, we will be able to replicate the same success in the toy space as well.
On the children's products, you've got toys, bed covers, mattresses. How do you see this segment growing in India? What are your revenue expectations?
Sure. So to start off with, I think we have as IKEA a huge focus on living with children as a living situation. We always go in with this point of view that children are the most important people in the world. And you can see that when you visit our stores or our website online, you can very clearly see this reflected in the different kinds of solutions that we share. So when we look at children and the children's range, we also see that there is a huge potential in the India market. The reason I say that is India is a very young nation. In India, if you look at the predominant cities that we have a presence in, if you look at the total number of households, you will see that about 60 to 80% of the households have a child, right? Which also makes the living with children as a home furnishing priority a very important one for us in India. And we can really see that while we've started off with a percentage share of maybe 6 to 8% in the children's IKEA range, we can clearly see that this can actually go up to 10 to 12% in the coming years. So we definitely see a huge potential. The second aspect is also to look at the market, because you can clearly see that when you start to scan the market and look at children's furniture, maybe there is a big white space. There is not a lot of products available. And today, even maybe the knowledge when it comes to what is needed in the context of home furnishing for children is not as developed in the India market. But we also believe that that is one area where we as IKEA can contribute. To a great extent. Particularly now, if you see on the backdrop of the COVID pandemic, we can see the children have spent almost a year at home, right? And we know very clearly that play and creativity plays a very important role in the development of children. But you can also see that right now it is online schooling and very scheduled activities that children are involved in, which might not really be very good for their development. So it is also about looking at how can toys play a bigger role in the current context to support the development of a child? So this is also a point of view that we carry, and we would like to share this with our consumers in the market as well. So clearly, when it comes to India and children, we see a huge potential in the context of home furnishing, and that, of course, includes toys.
Sure. Lastly, I wanted to understand, Kavitha, what is IKEA's expansion and sourcing strategy for other products, that's, furniture, kitchenware, etc.?
Yeah, so definitely as IKEA, we have a wide range of home furnishing products, which includes both furniture as well as home furnishing accessories. And then maybe a lot of people might not be as aware, but we also do the more complex, the modular furniture range, such as kitchens, such as wardrobes, which is very relevant in the context of consumers who are buying a new home and would like to furnish it. That is on the topic of the product range itself. And the second question that you were asking about is related to expansion. And as you're aware, we have a presence in Hyderabad for close to 2.5 years now. We have opened our store in Navi Mumbai in December last year. And we see that the next bastion for us is basically the Bangalore market, where the store is under construction. And this is also a mega city and a key market for us. And you've also heard about the news of, the 2 land parcels in Delhi that we are looking at. So this is broadly the expansion plan that we are looking at over the coming years. In addition to that, in the backdrop of the COVID pandemic, we also see that India is one of the foremost markets when it comes to digital adoption. And consumers have taken to e-commerce and online and digital in a big fashion. So we also see that even in a category like home furnishing, which traditionally had much more touch and feel, we can see that there is definitely a shift in terms of consumer behavior and people taking to online in a big fashion. So on the backdrop of that, you can see that we, of course, have e-commerce in Hyderabad. But if you recall, we launched e-commerce as the first entry point in a market like Mumbai, which is a very large city with an immense potential. And we could also see that we would take the same approach for the Bangalore market as well. So it is truly an omni-channel expansion strategy where, depending on the city, at times we could take an online first approach. But we basically want to give the choice to our consumers in terms of how they want to meet IKEA, either online or in the store. But either ways, they have a great customer experience.
Kavitha, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and helping us understand exactly what is IKEA India's plan in the country going forward.